All right, guys, as we know, last week the Green Bay Packers let go of defensive line coach Jason Rebrovich, a move that a lot of Packers fans agreed with. Well, this morning we got the news the Packers have found their new defensive line coach and also promoted from within for the new quarterbacks coach. The Green Bay Packers are hiring former Patriots defensive coordinator DeMarcus Covington as new defensive line coach. Covington, who is only 35 years old, was the defensive coordinator for the Patriots in 2024. He arrived in New England as a coaching assistant on Bill Belichick's staff in 2017, rose to outside linebackers coach in 2019, and transitioned to defensive line coach in 2020. He spent 4 years in the position before being promoted to defensive coordinator under coach Jerod Mayo. Overall, Covington spent 8 years on the Patriots coaching staff and was a member on the team that won Super Bowl 53. Let's break down DeMarcus Covington. I went back and looked at all the defensive stats from 2020 to 2024. Now, of course, he was the defensive line coach from 2020 to 2023, and most recently a defensive coordinator, which obviously he's not coming to the Green Bay Packers to be a defensive coordinator. But I went back, looked at all the stats that are relative to a defensive line to share with you guys. Quickly, a reminder to check out Sleeper and use code BASS at signup, BAS, to get $55 in free play. All you have to do is make a $5 play, and you can make this play for the upcoming Super Bowl. Simply choose more or less on any stat across this entire game. Right now, I really like more than a half a touchdown for Saquon Barkley. I feel like this is a given. He's been super hot throughout the playoffs. He has touchdowns in the last 2 playoff games. And although I am rooting for the Chiefs in this one, I feel a Saquon Barkley touchdown is a given. So guys, go make your picks on Sleeper. Use code BASS when signing up. Make a $5 play and you'll get $55 in free play. It's an insane promo going on right now and it's not going to be around for much longer. So make sure to get into it while you can. All right, so now back into the video. DeMarcus Covington, still only 35 years old. So the Packers adding yet another young coach to this coaching staff now to learn under Jeff Hafley, which I'm all for. I love the Packers adding young coaches that can continue to grow with this team, continue to grow with this coaching staff. I'm all for hiring, say, younger coaches that have something to build on, something to prove, than a coach that has already done it and done so much and is at the back end of their career. I'm all for hiring the young coaches, and DeMarcus Covington being only 35 years old, I'm all for. He has a long coaching career through college and the pros. In the pros, as we talked about at the beginning of this video, only with the New England Patriots, but in college at UAB, he started in 2012 as a defensive graduate assistant. Then he went to Ole Miss from 2013 to 2024 as a defensive graduate assistant. Then to UT Martin in 2015 as a defensive line coach. So there was his first real defensive line coach role there in 2015, 10 years ago. So he's had 10 years of experience coaching the defensive line. Eastern Illinois in 2026 as co-defensive coordinator and defensive line coach, and that's when he made his jump to the NFL in 2017 as the coaching assistant for the Patriots for 2 years, and then we talked about all the rest, the outside linebackers coach, the defensive line coach, period, and then most recently defensive coordinator under Jerod Mayo. So I want to go over some stats, and I'll talk about 2024 here real quickly, but keep in mind, he is a defensive coordinator. The Patriots were a hot mess. They already fired Jerod Mayo. In terms of defensive line stats, and again, he was a defensive coordinator. He was dealing with the entire defense, not just the defensive line. The Patriots only had 28 sacks this last season, which was actually the worst in the NFL. And in terms of pressure percentage, they had 17.6%, which was 29th best in the NFL. So last year, Patriots defense wasn't good. And right now you might be going, why in the world did they hire this guy? Well, if you go back to when he was actually a defensive line coach, it gets better. And there's a couple years that, they were at the top of the league in terms of, sacks, pressures, and also run defense, which we'll go over. 2023 wasn't amazing, but it also wasn't as bad as 2024. And this is his last year as a defensive line coach. They had 36 total sacks, which was 27th best, and a 20.7 pressure rate, which was 19th best. But if you look at 2023 and look at run defense, they allowed 3.3 yards per carry, which was the best in the NFL. So yeah, sure, they didn't get a ton of sacks, didn't get a ton of pressure. And I know that's kind of what we're bringing this coach in to do, is to, grow our edge rushers, grow our pass rushers to get after the quarterback, something that we really struggled with here in 2024. And run defense wasn't something we struggled with, but at least we know we're getting a guy on the defensive line that did a really good job at stopping the run. And I think he is a guy that's going to be able to coach up our young edge rushers, such as Lucas Van Ness, Brenton Cox Jr., Aaron Mosby, and whoever else they add into the room. As for 2022, they had 54 sacks, which was 4th best in the NFL. Definitely his best year in terms of getting after the quarterback as a defensive line coach, and a pressure rate of 24.1%, which was 7th best. And in the run defense department, they were top 10 as well, 4.1 yards per carry, 6th best. So 2022, definitely DeMarcus Covington's best year as a defensive line coach. So you definitely see the potential when you look back at 2022 in terms of him being a coach. Back in 2021, they had 36 total sacks, which was 19th best, a pressure rate of 25.6%, which was 10th best, and they were tied for 21st in yards per carry allowed with 4.5. Then finally, in 2020, the Patriots had 24 sacks, which was 27th best, a pressure rate of 26.4%, which was 5th best, and tied for 16th in yards per carry allowed at 4.5. So overall, I'm happy that the Packers made this hire. Again, I like adding a younger coach into this room that can mold this defensive line into what we expect. You know, switching from 3-4 to 4-3, it was only a matter of time before we got in a new defensive line coach because Jason Rebrovich simply wasn't cutting it, and I think a lot of us agreed on that. So bringing in DeMarcus Covington, I'm all for. I'm interested to see how it goes. I think the Packers will add edge rushers, whether that's through free agency / trade and or the draft. I think they're going to add talent to that room that DeMarcus Covington can work with. The final coaching move, which I slightly talked about at the beginning of this video, was actually one that I predicted when Tom Clements announced that he was retiring at quarterback coach. We all kind of wondered, okay, who's going to take his spot? I thought it would be Sean Mannion. He was added to the staff last season as an offensive assistant. And of course, Sean Mannion, an ex-quarterback in the NFL, I thought he would be promoted to quarterback coach, and that is the fact. Sean Mannion is being promoted to quarterback coach of the Green Bay Packers. Now, it was a first year for Mannion coaching in 2024, so it'll be interesting to see him build his career as a quarterback coach. Obviously, a former quarterback, not a well-known, renowned quarterback by any means in the NFL, but he did play for a decent amount. I mean, he played for 8 years here. As you see, as a player, he was with the Rams for 3 years, the Vikings for 2 years, the Seahawks, the Vikings again, the Seahawks again, the Vikings again, and the Seahawks again. Jumped around those two teams on the practice squads and rosters from 2021 all the way to 2023, then retired from being a player, and then became the Packers offensive assistant in 2024, now the quarterback's coach. So those are the two coaching staff moves of the Green Bay Packers this week. Obviously, the defensive line coach hiring, more of an exciting one. We kind of expected the Packers to hire from within at quarterback coach, and that is going to be Sean Mannion. Now, last week, they also brought back Luke Getsy into this coaching staff. I know that's a controversial one for a lot of people. And they also extended Rich Bisaccia as special teams coordinator and assistant head coach this week as well. So Packers making a ton of coaching staff moves. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you like the hiring of DeMarcus Covington? Just let me know in the comments below. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Pack Go.